Hey everyone, how's it going? Christmas hat is on, and I thought I would do a Q&A, a little spontaneous Q&A. Just to sort of say thank you to you all for watching and supporting this year. It's been the best year on the channel. I love what I'm doing. I'm having so much fun. And yeah, just thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who helps make the videos. Thank you to everyone I interviewed. Let's get into these questions. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Pataku93, any chances on a deep dive episode into the pre-Columbian cultures of the Amazon? That would be cool. Yes, I'd love to do something like that. No plans at the minute, but I'd love to. Bailey Maley, what got you into history of ancient and forgotten societies and just old human existence in general? I don't know, I've always been interested in history. There's a big cathedral in my hometown, Worcester, and I used to love roaming about that place. My grandma used to work at the cafe. And so I've just always loved history. And then when I went to do archaeology at uni, I did an introduction to like a human evolution class taught by Professor Paul Pettit. And he introduced us to this hominin called Paranthropus boisei, which has like this huge sagittal crest, real interesting offshoot of our evolution. And it was like a light bulb moment. For the first time, I realized how little I knew about human evolution. And yeah, I've never looked back. It's so interesting to study like deeper time. Now even I'm getting more and more into deeper and deeper time, like hopefully soon this month or maybe next month, depending on artwork and stuff like that, there should be a video about the first evolution of complex life, and I've interviewed 3 scientists for it, and it should be good. Yeah, so I'm going even further and further back in time. My interests are drawing me. This is such a slippy slope, guys. Look at the perils I'm in. Logo 2462. Tunche Films recently highlighted the importance of populist science communication and meeting people where they're at when it comes to fields like archaeology and history. What are your thoughts on the channel's recent community post? Well, I'd say he's absolutely right about that. I haven't seen Tunche's community post. Let me see here. What have you been saying, Andy? Sorry, I've come to the woods to make a video and I have like no signal. Oh, here it is. Oh, damn, it's a long one. Damn it, that's a long one. All right, well, I'm not gonna, for the sake of this video, I'm not gonna read it right now. Sorry, Andy. In general, yeah, you have to meet people where they're at. That's where the communication part comes in, right? Because there are so many obstacles to reading like an academic paper. Just the language that's in it is so, tricky, and they're super boring. Like when you can read them and understand them, you can see the implications, it's kind of exciting. But just reading an academic paper, it is boring, super boring. So yeah, you've just got to meet people where they're at, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, all of that stuff. That's the communication part of it. Susan Stone 3588, have you or will you do a video on the early migration of peoples to Australia? I haven't done that before, and yes, I would love to do that. Love to do that. RB1000, what's the number one archaeological or anthropological mystery that you hope gets resolved in your lifetime? A mystery. One thing I would love us to find is Homo erectus DNA, to see how some of these Homo erectus specimens fit into our human evolution. That would be great. There's also a massive gap in terms of human evolution in West Africa. Like if you look at a map of fossils that we found, they're all from South and East and North Africa, and there's a big gap in West Africa, partly because of the climate there, partly because of political instability. So it'd be great to get like a fossil from there, see what's up with that. And then like a real Hail Mary find might be a first generation Homo sapiens Neanderthal hybrid. We know it's possible to find one because at Denisova Cave we found a first generation Neanderthal Denisovan hybrid, so it's possible we could find such a thing. And that would tell us a lot about how these two groups interacted, when they interacted, when were we banging, all this sorts of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if those counts as mysteries, but those are sort of things I would love to see. And all these fossils as well coming out of China, how do they relate to us? Are they the Denisovans, or are they some like deeply diverged lineage of humans that we last shared a common ancestor with like 2 million years ago? And if so, then what does that say about human evolution and all of this stuff? Yeah, stuff like that. Hope that counts. Could you do a video on Cahokia Mounds? Have you ever visited them? Says Fish Move Communicate 8196. I've never visited. Would love to. The amount of visiting I've been doing these years has decreased as I'm just in the time of life where I've got young kids. But they're just getting a little bit older now, where I'm starting to be able to imagine that I might be able to visit places again. So Cahokia would be high on that list for sure. And I'd love to make a video. Pat Nixon. Will you make a video about Graham Hancock's season 2 on Netflix, please? I've been thinking about it. I haven't seen it yet. I've been thinking about it. The one thing that I've been wondering about it is, what can I add to the debate? I don't know. They still didn't find Atlantis, right? So I feel like I've almost said everything there is to say about it. But yeah, I am thinking about it a lot. It might come soon. It might come soon. Does it legitimize the content in a way, talking about it? I don't know. Probably not. He's already got a massive platform, right? It doesn't really get much bigger than the platforms he's on, so I suppose I can't really do any more damage. But those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about, and it's just a little bit boring to me, a little bit, because I've done a lot of interviews this past month. They're so interesting, and I really want to get them out, and it's like, do I pause one of those to talk about Graham Hancock again? I don't know. But I know people like it, and it is kind of fun to discuss these ideas, so we'll see. Cody Moon 7552. Do you think there was anything on Doggerland, as in were there any henges or barrows that we could accidentally discover via net fishing or the odd mission to clear out sea mines? When did it go underwater? Good question. I don't know if any of Doggerland was still above water during the Neolithic. I think it was all underwater during the Mesolithic. But there is like a point, there was Dogger Bank, that might have been an island for a while. I don't know. Well, I'm sure we could find a lot there. But a henge, I'm not sure. Imagine though, that is an interesting idea though. Like where Dogger Bank is, I think a part of that was still above water during the Neolithic. Imagine there's a whole new Neolithic society there, yet to be discovered. That would be fascinating. I'd never actually thought about that before, because I just assumed, I thought it had gone underwater much earlier than that. Yeah, interesting one. Jacko Bray Hauger 7299. Have you seen the videos about Europe in the Paleolithic by North 02? Of course, I love North 02. We've got a video working on together, hopefully coming out in January. PM8FC, where do people from Hackney, London came from? I don't know, man. I don't know. These Londoners, they're a strange breed. At Pulex73, what do you think about the role of obsidian in our history? Interesting one. I don't know. What do I think about the role of obsidian? Did it have a ground-breaking role as opposed to any other rock? I'm not sure. Just trying to make the video a little brighter. I mean, in the Americas, you do get examples of obsidian being traded a really long way. There's an example that was recovered from somewhere around the Great Lakes, and the obsidian had come from Oregon, and that distance is huge, right? I think as far as I'm aware, that's the furthest item that has moved in prehistory. So they must have really prized it. But in terms of like human evolution, when Homo erectus or something came upon obsidian, what did they think about it? I don't know. Were they like, oh my god, this is a super rock? Or was it just another day at the office for them? Hard to say. CJ Espinoza, I love getting more involved in your kind of work as a hobby, as I find it extremely interesting. As someone who did not go to university in the subject, how can I get started? I don't know where you're at, but at least in Europe, or at least in Britain, there are a lot of opportunities for people to volunteer on excavations. It's always fun to dig something out of the ground. It is, sometimes a bit tedious, a bit backbreaking, a bit cold, a bit wet, all these sorts of things, but I think probably you have a local archaeological society, and they're always looking for volunteers to help. So yeah, I would start there, or make YouTube videos. You could do that too. When will you be doing a collab with Northo2 or Dan Davis? You three are the best in the game right now as far as I've seen, and it would be awesome. Another good collabs would be with the Law Lodge. I don't know who the Law Lodge are. Have to check that out. But yeah, Northo2 coming imminently, and Dan Davis, yeah, I'd love to. Chat about some Bronze Age stuff with him. That'd be great. Anytime, Dan, anytime. I think I have your contact details, so I don't even know why I'm saying it in the video, but anytime, Dan. If you could live in any time in prehistory, what period would you choose? Oh man, it's a tricky one, because I love prehistory, I love learning about it, but probably day to day, objectively horrible compared to the existence I live now. So when would I want to go back? I don't know, maybe like, this is a boring answer. Like, on the one hand, it would be interesting to go back to Paleolithic and go see Europe when there's just like a few hundred people living in the entire continent and mammoths are roaming and everything like that. Be crazy, of course, it would be crazy. But gosh, I would miss a toilet and running water. So if we're thinking about that, maybe like an early Harappan civilization. I'm still in prehistory, arguably. But at least I can sit on the toilet and go for a poo. Do you know what I mean? I'd have to take a shed load of antibiotics back with me. I don't even want to go. If I can't take antibiotics, I don't even want to go. As curious as I am about the past. SI4296, how can we explain the relative technological stagnation of sapiens until the Neolithic? I don't know, really. Sometimes, in the twists and turns of history, stuff just takes a while, right? Why didn't the Romans have an industrial revolution? Why did it take, like, Britain until the Victorian period to redo sewers after they had them in the Roman period? You know, why did, life evolved on Earth billions of years ago, but until about 550 million years ago, it was just single-cell bacteria. Like, most of Earth's history has just been single-celled bacteria. Why did it take so long? There's no answer, really, other than, for whatever reason, the conditions and the pieces of the puzzle, they just weren't quite together. Maybe it was climate, maybe it was society, maybe it was population density, maybe all of the above. But for some reason, the pieces weren't quite together. And also, when we're thinking about our time, like in 500 years' time, they'll be looking at our time and thinking, gosh, couldn't they just see how close they were to, like, squizzly bing-bongs? You know, gosh, they were right on the cusp of finding 4 quartz-bazorgs or whatever, like whatever they're doing in 500 years' time. They'll be looking at our time and thinking, like, wasn't it obvious to them? Couldn't they just see the jizz bangs? And we can't. For whatever reason, we can't. And for whatever reason, humanity couldn't have a reason or figure out, like, much urbanism or farming before the Neolithic period. The pieces weren't there, and there's no easy or simple explanation as to why. Get Thin Reese 1. Why are you so awesome? Well, thank you. I don't know. It's because I found the secret of jizz bangs. Lejazza2492. Hi, Stefan. Love what you do. My question for you is, what is your opinion on the curse of Oak Island, the money pit, and all that jazz? But also the work of the real archaeologists out there. Thank you kindly, sir. Don't know anything about it, I'm afraid. Couldn't tell you. I don't even know where Oak Island is. Lana Gentry 6328. Which early human or human ancestor species do you think you could take in a fight? I think I've got to go back to Australopithecus. I think, they're only like a meter tall. Not Paranthropus boisei, the robust Australopithecus, because they were huge. I'm talking Lucy. I think I could probably drop kick Lucy. But Neanderthal or Homo erectus, I think they're going to pull me apart. Where is your name from? It sounds Czech or Croatian or something of that variety. Close. My grandfather was Serbian.
Third time. Novak Djokovic.
Have you looked at the study saying there are Denisovan alleles in South America in higher concentration than any other place besides Africa and Australasia? If so, what are your thoughts? I did kind of do a video on that kind of topic, or at least it was mentioned when I did a video about population Y. My thoughts on that are just that the interbreeding with Denisovans must have occurred as that population was splitting, as the population of humans was moving across Asia. We had this input of Denisovan DNA, and it must have occurred before they reached America. I don't have anything groundbreaking or crazy to say about it. we don't have a good idea of the distribution of Denisovans, so I suppose it's entirely possible that the population that would become Native Americans had another pulse of Denisovan DNA as they moved across Asia. So that's a possibility, I suppose. But I don't have anything groundbreaking to say about it, I think. How are archaeological sites initially found? This is a big planet. I'm sure we don't just randomly start digging. I found your work fascinating, thank you. Sometimes we do randomly start digging. When you get a hunch about a location, you might do a survey and try and find sites that would be good to dig at. When you're talking about sites that are like way in the past, I think the challenge is finding soil of the right age, because let's say you want to find a site that's 20,000 years ago, 30, 40,000 years ago or something. You need dirt that's that old. You need a place where the dirt is that old and you can dig down to dirt that age. And a lot of the times these things are discovered by accident. Like so many things are discovered by people just rummaging around, by building work, all these things. All sorts of stuff being discovered all the time. Is there someone behind me? No, it's just the drip of the leaves and my paranoia. Comment on the Rogan Flint Dibble stuff. I think Flint Dibble has been treated scandalously, to be honest. I mean, it was Graham Hancock and Joe Rogan's idea to have the debate, and Flint took them up on it. You know, there was a mistake he made with talking about the numbers of boats that have been found, and people just go to town on it, accusing him of lying and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. You know, it's extremely ridiculous that non-experts get to go on these things and just spout nonsense all day, right? And if they make a mistake, it's just like, well, it's just a mistake, whatever. But in like a 4-hour debate, if the expert comes on, then they're labeled a liar and whatnot, and people pick through their words with a fine comb. It's scandalous, really. It makes you never want to do that kind of thing, doesn't it? It's like, why go on Joe Rogan if that's how you're going to be treated? If the smallest slip up is still going to be attacked so harshly. And I just feel like they're just a bunch of hypocrites, to be honest. Joe Rogan, Graham Hancock, all the people that comment on that stuff, hypocrites at the highest degree. I don't like it one bit. Jen Sekloff 2653. Any news on potential traces of admixtures with other hominins in sub-Saharan Africa? I don't know of any news. But here's an interesting thought. I'm starting to, and this came up in my chat I did with Lauritz, like, what is admixture, right? And what are these other groups of hominins? It sort of feels like the more evidence we find of interbreeding with them, that it seems like a meaningless distinction to me to label like one group Homo sapiens, the other group not Homo sapiens. It all seems so trivial in a way. And like when you're talking about Africa, the place where our species has had the most evolutionary history, how do you separate a group that was like, you know, not us and admixed into it from just our regular evolution? Do you know what I mean? You see what I'm trying to get at? It's like, it just feels like some groups of humans we're coming into contact with very frequently, and some groups of humans we're coming into contact with infrequently. But to like split us up into different camps and say like this is admixture from another archaic group, I don't know. Seems hard to do. Obviously, with the discovery of Homo naledi, we now realize that there were populations of hominins in Africa that were very deeply diverged from us, millions of years probably separated from us. So that I think for sure counts. And if we boinked one of them, that would be very interesting. I suspect not. I suspect too much time has passed for us to be doing that with Homo naledi. As for other archaic groups in Africa, it's like, when do we draw the line between this is another archaic group or this is just a population of hominins that just led to the mosaic that is modern humans? Do you know what I mean? Tricky. I don't have an answer to that question. I'm going to walk back uphill now. So Hopefully the quality of the filming hasn't been too terrible, too shaky, but it's about to get a lot more out of breathy, that's for sure. Do you think that if we could take a newborn baby from 40 to 20,000 years ago and raise it today, they'd be able to learn as quickly as we do? Yeah, I think so. 20 to 40? Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be interesting to see a baby plucked from 100,000 years ago. That would be interesting to me. Because we don't have crazy art from that time period. And that's such a human thing, so that would be a really interesting one for me. Was there some difference in the brain there? Or is it just a bias in the archaeological record? Oh man. So awkward, filming in public. I don't know how these vloggers do it. This is... Greg says, our world is going through a lot of problems right now, and everyone has different ideas of how to solve them. What pieces of the solution do you think you might have uncovered through your studies and work? To be honest, I don't know, man. I really don't know how the world should work. I think humans are very, very good at splitting groups off into us and them. And there were no doubt many evolutionary benefits to thinking that way. But maybe in such an interconnected world, that's extremely detrimental to think like that. I don't know how the world should be run, man. I just try and keep myself true. And like Hank Green had this expression, an allegiance to truth. I love that phrase. I try and keep myself grounded in what is true and knowable. Try not to be a dick. That's about all I can do. About all I can do. I'm trying not to fight imaginary battles, do you know what I mean? Do you ever get like that when you're like arguing with an imaginary person in your head who has like a different idea to you or whatever? It's like, I'm really trying to stop fighting imaginary battles. Focus on yourself, your family, and what you can do. Those around you, be nice to the people around you. I think that's all I can do, man. That's all I can do. Genetic Gen 9312. Given your interest in populations and migration, are you interested in learning more genetics, like picking up some books or doing an online course? It seems like you would love it given your passions. I would kind of like to do that. Hang on. I'm getting out of breath. It's steep. I don't know if you can see how steep it is, but it's pretty steep. It's probably 92-degree angle or something, I don't know. But yeah, I do kind of wish when I was younger and had finished my degree that I had understood more about the importance of genetics and how it was about to revolutionize everything we understood about human evolution. I think I would have liked to have done a master's in genetics or something. At the minute, I'm very happy being the video guy. I've just kind of come to accept that maybe that's my role. Maybe my role isn't to go back to school to work on this stuff full time. Maybe my goal is to just be the video guy who talks about it in as good a way as possible. And I think I'm happy with that. I think that's enough for me. Yeah, I'll try and encourage my kids to go study genetics. Live vicariously through them. Favorite celebration chocolate? Asked Henry Burnside P4T. Maltesers. It's just gotta be, right? It's just gotta be. Pretty sure those are the ones in the celebrations, right? Padavinity 1262. Is there anything you think Graham Hancock et al. Could possibly be right about? Not really. Not really. I will say I lurk on the subreddit and I do, learn some things there. I learn about archaeological sites I'd never heard of for sure. So that's always interesting. And shout out to people sharing those. I think they're just not doing enough research to be right about anything, I think. Not doing enough serious research. I don't actually think they're interested in really solving the questions they ask, to be honest. Doesn't seem that way to me. They're certainly not trying very hard, and are not very interested in keeping up to date about the latest archaeological thought and all of this stuff. I think I think they're addicted to the mystery. I don't think they're trying to solve anything. Adrianic 3714. Based on our knowledge, do Neolithic people have more leisure time than us in the modern world? I would think yes, they spent a lot more time on art, telling stories, not only hunting and making stuff they had to do to survive. Yeah, I think so. I think they had a lot more free time than us, to be honest. A lot. So much of our time now, our boss is keeping us at work from 9 to 5 or whatever. And you probably could get your day's work done in the first 3 hours. A lot of jobs are like that. Even jobs that aren't like that, like when I was a teenager, I worked in a warehouse and, the packages are just coming. For the entire shift, the packages are just coming. You're busy the whole day. And it's like that just doesn't happen in Neolithic society. I think there would have been times of year when they were really busy, harvesting and sowing crops, and long periods of the year when they weren't doing a lot. I really think we don't have a lot of free time at the minute. Maybe the least amount of free time in human history. Or maybe that's just me being dramatic, I don't know. Nefi Labata coming through. What else than history research and presenting it here on YouTube belongs into your life that is important? What less important things does a history guy like you do? Well, I spend a lot of time with my kids. A lot of time, which is great, because this job is very flexible. So I really love that. I wouldn't describe my kids as less important than what I do here, though. Quick caveat in case my wife is watching. To be honest, I do need a new hobby, because my hobby has become my job. And that's great, because I love doing what I do. But I have been thinking of picking up another hobby, and I think it might be astronomy. I think I want to get a telescope and try and see Saturn and Jupiter and things like that for myself, with my own eye. That seems so crazy, and it's so accessible, so I'm thinking I'm going to buy myself a telescope for my birthday and try and do that. Just to have something to put my mind towards that isn't connected to YouTube, because even though I love history now, it's hard when I read a history thing to not be like, oh, would that make a good video? Is that an interesting video? Could I include that in a video? Blah, 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 blah. And it is kind of tiring to always think about things from that perspective. So yeah, I just need a different hobby. Astronomy. I'm going to try and see Saturn. Let's see what the rings of Saturn are up to. Alfred Waldo 6079, what do you think about cheese? I love it. Robin Dalkvist, can you do some kind of archaeology award for the year? Best find, best new discovery, and so on. I should do something like that. I should. Infidel 3476, long-time viewer of the channel, I know. Do you think you're too big for the spoon? I don't mean spooning with me, thank God. I mean your microphone. I'm not too big for the spoon. It's actually taped to my subscriber plaque that is in the background in my most recent videos. I was surprised no one had commented on it. There's one thing, here's the thing about YouTube, guys. There's a lot of fake authenticity out there. And I hate that. And I don't want to do any of that. And the spoon was great, and I loved it, and it was a fun thing to do when I didn't understand how to use a lav mic. And then it was a funny joke when it carried on to the other mic. But it had just become a thing to try and include in the videos rather than a tool. Do you know what I mean? And it has sort of become its own production element. And I didn't like that. I didn't want to continue doing it arbitrarily, even when I have more expensive and better microphones, out of some fake authenticity. Because there are a lot of YouTubers that do stuff like that. And it's just not for me. Not for me. I don't want to do it. There are YouTubers that, pretend to be talking into their phone or whatever. Meanwhile, there's like a $5,000 microphone hanging above their head. All this sorts of stuff. So I don't want to do any of that. But the spoon lives on. It lives on, never to be forgotten. Of the ticks, what's your favorite color? Green. It's gotta be. Green is the best. Mandy Moorhall, question, I'm doing research for my next book. In your professional opinion, how many penises does Cerberus have? 1 or 3? Is that the dog with 3 heads? I mean, I think it has one body, right? So if we're sticking to what we know of the modern world, one body, one penis. However, once you've conceded the fact that this thing has 3 heads, you've abandoned modern biology. So why not have 7, splaying out like a fan in all its glory? Yeah. So 7, I say. Why does it burn when I pee? You probably have some form of urinary tract infection. You should definitely consider upping the amount of water you're consuming. And if that doesn't help within a couple of days, see your local GP. I walked too far into the woods, lost phone signal, so had to come back to the car for these ones. Do you think that some European folklore came to us from Neolithic European communities? Very possible. Very, very possible. I don't know of any examples off the top of my head, but I'm certainly open to that. How'd you end up in America? My wife is American. What is some advice you'd give to graduate students in archaeology? Tricky one, man. I don't know. When I graduated archaeology, I was within 3 months working at Domino's Pizza. It's tricky out there. I don't know. I don't know if this is good advice, but try and get some sort of skill that can be applied to lots of different time periods, like radiocarbon dating, genetics, something like that. Something where experts of lots of different time periods need your help, because it's tricky to be an expert in a specific time period and get a job, I think. But I never was able to work it out either, to be honest with you. Do you think ghosts haunt hot people because they're attracted to them? Well, I have never seen a ghost, so no. Do we know anything about Lipinski Vir other than cool fish statues? I really want to make a video on Lipinski Vir. I just haven't done it yet because I want to go to Serbia. Next time I'm in Serbia, I want to go do it, but we'll see. Hopefully soon. What are your thoughts on Q&As? They're cool. How much of an archaeology are you? Postgrad, PhD, do you still pursue it academically? No. I don't consider myself an archaeologist. I just have a bachelor's in archaeology. I'm an expert in nothing. And yeah, I want to do more, get back into excavating this year, hopefully. But we'll have to see. But at the minute, I think of myself as a YouTuber. I don't think of myself as an archaeologist. If I start digging more and get involved in the literal archaeology more, then maybe I'll feel more comfortable using that label. But I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just a YouTube guy. This is why my videos have involved more and more expert interviews as well, because I just want to maintain a high quality of research even when it's subjects I'm not familiar with. Do you have thoughts on paleontology? Did you consider that field? I never considered it, but I'm more and more in love with it every day. Hopefully in March, I'm going to go collect fossils myself for the first time, so that should be fun. How have your research habits changed since starting your channel? Linked to the previous question, involving more expert interviews, not relying on my own research as much. I used to make a lot of videos that were very popular about like Homo erectus and stuff, and I just feel like an expert interview is better, basically. In terms of the amount of information I get, the gems of information I get, it's better. I've been doing less of these broad sweeps of history, and certainly I wouldn't do another project like that without help. Is it likely there's preserved Neanderthal in the permafrost somewhere? I hope so. I hope so, Arthur. There's got to be one somewhere. One Neanderthal that went a little too far north. Got frozen up. History with Kaylee. When are we going to collab, Stefan? Anytime. No, but seriously, what's your favorite extinct animal species? Extinct animal species? Well, I have 2 young kids, so I'm really up on my dinosaurs at the minute. And although I say that, this isn't actually a dinosaur, but Quetzalcoatlus. It's insane to think that something so large could fly. Imagine, like, an animal the size of a bus flying in our time period. Crazy. I've got to make a video on them at some point. Which bone in human skeleton is best? Coccyx. Which one archaeological discovery do you think is the most significant? Hard to say, random stranger, hard to say. I mean, it's got maybe the discovery of Neanderthals. Just to, you know, illuminate the fact that humans did evolve as well. When will your sister be back on the channel? I don't know who you are, stranger. I suspect you pick your nose and smell your farts, but I don't know when my sister will be back on the channel. What's a video you'd like to make, but you know for a fact no one is going to watch? I really like pottery. And one of the things I love about it is the texture of it. I would love to make a 2-3 hour video of me just looking at different ancient pottery styles and being like, oh, that's nice. That's a lovely handle. What sauce to go with your chips at the chippy? I just like salt and vinegar. Just salt and vinegar. But if I'm picking a sauce, it's got to be curry sauce, to be honest. Curry sauce. Why are you so handsome? Curry sauce, man. Curry sauce. Linked, they're inseparable. What could LiDAR reveal in the Sahara? Depends where. Under the dunes, nothing. You need some ground penetrating radar or something, and LiDAR has to be able to actually hit the thing. I don't know. I bet there's all sorts of sites across old riverbeds from the Green Sahara. I just don't know. To be honest, who knows? Did Homo erectus have language? That's the question of the day. They've got to have been able to communicate somehow, because all apes communicate. The flip side of that is I don't believe they were talking like I am now, and communicating like we are now. But where were they in between that? Could you have a limited conversation with a Homo erectus? That's one of the things I'd love to see if you could travel back in time. I'd love to just see a gang of Homo erectus hanging out and just seeing how much language they had. What did you get for Christmas if you celebrate? I got chocolates, I got socks, I got some trousers. Dad stuff, man. Dad stuff. What is the most fascinating thing you learned this year? I really enjoyed going and hanging out with Laurie Skov on that video. Not very popular as far as my videos go, but it was so great to just sit down with a geneticist and just have a rambling conversation. It's really, I know it is more complicated than this, but it is interesting that on a fundamental level, genetics is just counting the differences. And also how much of our genome is similar between us and a Neanderthal and a chimpanzee, and that this whole science is so dependent on our genomes being incredibly similar. I always wondered how they'd lined them up, and I never appreciated it was because our genes are so similar that the difference between our genome and a Neanderthal's genome at any one given place is likely non-existent. So you can just line up the chunks of DNA. I don't know if that made sense, but go watch the video, it's very cool. Dean Fenech, I think we look alike, do you? Well, you only have a cartoon in the picture, but I would say no, because you have a receding hairline. And as you can see, I have thick head of hair. So I'm gonna have to say no on that one, sorry Dean. Do you think that the Vinci writing system was a real writing system? That's a good question, and one I'll end on, because I'm doing a video this month about another European system of communicating from prehistory that we don't know a lot about. I don't know enough about it, to be honest. That's the first thing. But it's certainly a step at advanced communicating some ideas on clay. Putting some idea into a form that can be transmitted between people. There's something going on there. Linguists can argue about whether it's full-on writing. To me, that's almost irrelevant. I think it's one of the earliest steps that humans have at putting their ideas down in a more permanent way. And that's cool whether you think it's writing or not. I think I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for watching the videos this year. It really means the world to me. I'm the luckiest guy in the world doing this for a living. And I have a lot of exciting plans for next year. New videos coming very, 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 very soon. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much. You're the best.